And then he's him. I have Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Brock Purdy.
Well, you got what? wait. Say that last part again.
I said he's him.
Uh-huh.
I have Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Brock Purdy.
I can't believe you've gone to the dark side.
Play the song with your heart. Play the song with your heart.
And one time. What is good, YouTube? This is your boy Aaron.
It's Brian. Salute.
And this is the Courtside View podcast, and we are back today. Before we start, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell. I know we have a lot of new viewers, so check out the video, and if you like it, make sure to subscribe and help us out, because we definitely want to continue doing this for the immediate future, and so please help us out, and yeah, let's get to this video. Now, today, we are going to discuss various different topics, but the first one we had to get to the Super Bowl. Our reactions to the game happened last week, last Sunday, but we're here today talking about it on a Saturday. And man, where do we begin? Because a lot of news has come out after the Super Bowl and stuff like that regarding the overtime rules, regarding a certain firing that happened. Let's see. Let's go down. Let's just break down the game, right? Let's go to Kyle Shanahan's mistakes. I think that's the big thing about the game that we need to discuss in terms of the overtime and how they screwed that up, and then also the defense per se and the defense being blamed at the end and stuff like that.
Sure.
So let's talk about what transpired at the end. We all watched the game. The game was pretty much back and forth, a very close game at the end. It was tied up at 19-19. Overtime comes around, and the 49ers win the coin toss, and they decided to receive instead of deferring. And here's the deal, because if you don't know, the new overtime rules, I actually have it with me. Let me see if I can find it.
While he's looking at that, I just want to give myself a pat on the back, because if I'm not mistaken, I got on this platform last week and said, do not be surprised if this game went into overtime. And look what happened. And not only didn't it, when we first predicted the score, I said the score would be 25 to something.
Yeah, you did. It was like, well, you said.
At first I said 25 to like 21 or something like that.
Then I changed
it.
You had like a 4-point game. It was like. Yeah.
I mean, it didn't end up as 4 points because they couldn't kick an extra point.
Exactly.
But I was close enough.
Yeah, you were close enough. I
was cooking. Man, what? But yeah, that's Super Bowl. Like, I was watching the mic'd up video yesterday, and like you could just see like a clear difference in attitude, demeanor, and approach to the game. Like, obviously players were locked in on both sides, but it just seemed like the 49ers were more having fun with it, and the Chiefs, they wasn't playing.
Nah, they weren't. They weren't at all. I think Dre Greenlaw, that injury really hurt them, because he was such a major part of that thing. Okay, so I have the overtime rules right here. So here's the deal. So overtime rules. This transpired. The reason why it transpired, why they changed it in the postseason specifically, because of Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen, the Bills versus Chiefs in 2021, where the reason the Bills lost in the OT is because they didn't get the ball back. They were going back and forth, and the overtime came, and the Bills weren't able to get the ball after the Chiefs scored. The Chiefs scored a touchdown, and so that's why the Bills lost. And they changed it, and so now pretty much it says if the score is still tied at the end of the overtime period, or if the second team's initial possession has not ended, the teams will play another overtime period. Play will continue regardless of how many overtime periods are needed for a winner to be determined. Let's see. Each team will have an opportunity to possess the ball in overtime. And see, that's the big thing. That's the big thing when it comes to this rule, because in the past, in previous years, that wasn't the case. So last year was the first time this rule was implemented. And for whatever reason, the 49ers and the players did not know that. Well, Kyle Shanahan knew it, but he didn't tell his players about it, or at least remind them about it. And so that's a big problem, because I have quotes right here. I have a quote from Eric Armstead. Let's see here. After the game, he said, "I didn't even know about the new over a playoff overtime rule. Didn't even know what was going in terms of that. They put on the scoreboard, and everyone was like, oh, even if you score, they get a chance still. Kyle Juszczyk said the same thing. He said, oh, and this was at the heat of the moment. This was after the coin toss when they decided to receive. He was like, oh, so even if we score, they get the ball back. Like, what? How do you not remind your players of that? The Chiefs players, they knew it. The coaches knew it. But for whatever reason, the 49ers player didn't know it, and that's part of the things about Kyle Shanahan and why he is a loser when it comes to these big games. And when I mean big games, we're talking about Super Bowls. Come on now. When people, he wants to be like, the narrative about B-Dot winning big games is not true. Bro, when we say big games, we mean the big game, Super Bowl. What do you think we're talking about? See, they trying to twist our words. They trying to make people sound dumb, like, we don't know what we're talking about. You know what we're talking about. We're talking about the Super Bowl. So get out of here with all that nonsense. But that was a huge mistake. Any smart person would have deferred because nothing is guaranteed. And let's say the Chiefs scored. Cam Newton, everybody else talked about this, but let's say if the Chiefs scored. Guess what? The 49ers, instead of only having 3 downs, you have 4 downs. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is that if you know you have to score, you're not going to be conservative. You're not going to be you're not going to be a team where, all right, in 3 downs, we're just going to punt it. Like, no, you have to score, so you have to use first down, second down, third down, and fourth down because your season's on the line. There's not no tomorrow. If you don't get all these 4 downs, it's a wrap. You lose the Super Bowl. And so that's why it's important to defer. Now, here's the thing that nobody has talked about. Let's say, okay, because Chris Jones said if the 49ers scored, we were going to go down, and let's say they scored, we scored, we're going to go for 2. So my question would be, would the 49ers get the ball back, or would the game be over after that? Because nobody talked about that point.
The game would be over.
The game would be over.
Yeah, the game would be over.
So that right there, that's where it gets a bit tricky. Well, Chris Jones did say that even if the 49ers scored a touchdown, and the Chiefs came back and they scored a touchdown, they would have went to 2 to try to win the game. Now, we don't know how that really would have transpired, if they really would have done that. But at the end of the day, do the smart thing.
When you think about it, it makes sense because you don't want to give them, the 49ers, being the ball back, and all they have to do is get a field goal. You might as well just win or lose it right here.
Right, yeah. But I just think in terms of the smartest thing you can do to help your team put them in the right position is deferring and just letting. Now, the defense was tired.
Oh, well, it's the Super Bowl. Everybody's tired.
Exactly. But allowing your quarterback to have 4 downs and then not being limited in terms of just the play calling and all the other stuff, because when you're the one trying to score and you know you have to score, the playbook is probably going to be widened.
Like, for example, say versus if you taking the ball first, say you're in a situation like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, well, you're pretty much forced to pass the ball to move the chains. Versus if you were the Chiefs, per se, and it's 3rd and 4, you could risk running the ball only picking up 3 yards or 2 yards. Then you could, okay, we got another down.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it changes the whole philosophy of the play calling and it really situational football and things like that. So, yeah, at first I was team get the ball now, but in the moment I was like, oh, yeah, I don't care if they got the ball, but now I'm like, oh, they definitely should have.
Yeah, because you're playing against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. You cannot take that risk. You have to do whatever you can to make sure that you're the last team with the football. Now, again, you could say, well, what Chris Jones said, they'll just get the ball back and they'll score a touchdown and then they'll go for 2. But again, we don't know if they'll follow through with that or not. And that's just what Chris Jones said. We don't know what's going to transpire. But what we do know is that you want to put your team in the best position possible to win the game. And I felt like them receiving the ball first, you saw it in Mahomes' expression. He was shocked. I just think that wasn't the right move. If the Chiefs somehow score, then okay, and they go for two, you just tip your hat, and then you walk away saying we did everything we could.
Right.
That's just the way it is. But you just can't do that to your offense and to your quarterback like that, and that's why they lost the game. And me personally, that 4th and 4, they shouldn't have kicked the field goal. I said, bro, you have to go for that. You have to. Because Mahomes is Mahomes and Andy Reid. You have to go for that. And they didn't. They elected to go for the field goal, and I knew it was over. I knew the minute they kicked that field goal in overtime, it was a wrap. But Kyle Shanahan didn't think it was over. He trusted that defense. He trusted that the defense, which was tired, which was gashed, could stop Mahomes and Andy Reid. This team that won the Super Bowl last year, this team that knows how to win in the biggest of moments, and you give them 4 downs, you trust that defense. Bad decision making by Kyle Shanahan, and that's the reason why they lost. Speaking on some other things, looking at the Chiefs side of things, right? Because I just want to say this: Mahomes, he didn't have the greatest game in the world. He threw a pick too. It was a bad pass to Travis Kelce.
Honestly, I thought the game was going to be over after that happened.
Nah, I didn't think it was over. I was a bit nervous. But cause number one, I had money on the line. But two, the 49ers defense was doing a really good job in the first 3.5 quarters. So I was a bit nervous, but overall I was like, nah, this game not over because we got Mahomes and Andy Reid. The way that Mahomes is just able to get it done when it matters most. Whatever you need him to do, he just does it. You need him, hey, nobody's open, I'm going to use my legs. You need a throw when it matters most, get it done. It's just, it blows my mind just how he's able to figure it out, how he's able in these situations come up in the biggest of moments. He never looks scared. He never looks nervous. He never looks like he's forgotten how he's gotten there, like Lamar Jackson or like some of these other quarterbacks. He just understands what he needs from his team, and he delivers every time. Now, you could say, well, Andy Reid has helped him with that, and that is true. Andy Reid is one of the best play designers, one of the best play callers in the NFL. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time. You could argue he's top 3, top 5. But Mahomes has elevated Andy Reid to heights that he's never been before. He had Alex Smith, he had Donovan McNabb, and he didn't win a Super Bowl. He went to one Super Bowl, and that was like 2004.
Yep.
And then after that, he couldn't win the big game. That was the biggest question mark about Andy Reid. We said, oh, he's a really good coach, but he can't win the big game. Same thing was happening with Kyle Shanahan right now. And with Mahomes, he just has elevated the head coach. He has elevated the Chiefs organization to new heights that they've never been to before since 1970. Mahomes is just unreal, man, and we'll talk more about him. But I just want your reaction to what you saw from Mahomes in that game.
Well, first thing first, I want to say I saw this tweet yesterday, and this is what I think is the problem, and this is why I had a problem with that Cam Newton thing, the whole game manager's game changer thing. because the tweet says the Patrick Mahomes ultra mega super duper GOAT hype in the media has reached weird levels. Super Bowl. Mahomes only threw 8 out of 34 completed passes over 5 yards against the 49ers defensive zone coverage. Rather game manager of him, don't you think? Now this is where I have a problem with this.
Okay.
Because it seems people have gone the radicalized position of it's either one all the time or one all the time. It's either or all the time. But when in reality, they don't realize that you can't win games like Super Bowls being one-dimensional. You have to have game manager type games and performances in order to win the big game. Like I don't understand. People don't understand. Like last year, it was pretty much air raids. It was touchdowns being thrown left and right. But this year, he really got into that bag where you could be like he was Brady-esque. He was just taking what the defense was giving him, letting his receivers get yak and things of that nature. And that's really the evolve shows how much Pat Mahomes has evolved over these last years, because you look at the 2020 Bucks game when he was in the Super Bowl against the Bucks, he was still trying to go for them home run plays. You know, when he was falling, he threw the ball, and granted Tyreek Hill, he dropped it, but still, it's like this really just shows the overall development of Mahomes and how he is already a Hall of Fame QB. Probably, in my opinion, he's top 2 all time. But
Top 2?
He's top 2.
Golly, already?
He's top 2.
Oh, my. We're going to get to that.
For what he's done
we're gonna get to
in this short amount of time, I got to. He's right behind Brady.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. But yeah, Mahomes was he was fantastic for what he needed to do. And now, granted, he wasn't all like, Mahomes
did miss some passes.
Yes, he definitely missed some throws.
In the first half, he was missing passes. He threw that interception.
Like that interception was very uncharacteristic of him, but I think he played well. And honestly, I think Brock Purdy played well too for what he was asked to do. I can't put this loss on Brock Purdy.
No.
I put it on Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, I do too.
And the fact that the defense was injured, a huge part of the defense got hurt. But I can't put this game on Brock Purdy like some people try to. Listen, I got my gripes with Brock Purdy and mostly how the media covers him, but he played solid on last Sunday.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Mahomes, he played a decent game. He was pretty solid. I give him like a B. If I had to grade him, I give him a B. I didn't think he was great. I think he was good. I think he was really good. And then at the end, he was great as always. But I will say though, you brought up Brock Purdy, and definitely want to get into that right now. Brock Purdy, he played a solid game. He wasn't the reason they lost. He had to overcome a lot. That offensive line was getting shredded.
Yep. Receivers was getting locked up.
Mm-hmm.
Debo, where was Debo? He was my X factor of the game, and lo and behold, he was nowhere to be found because he can't run routes.
And see, the thing that the Chiefs did, because Brock Purdy, he was shredding that zone defense for the Chiefs, but then the Chiefs went to more man coverage, and them receivers was getting locked up. Like, it was looking very bad, and so that really hurt Brock Purdy and sort of limited what they can do on offense. And man, I'm looking at, I got the stats right here, bro. Like, I think he got like pressured over like 10 times, and he got sacked 4 times. It was a very difficult game for Brock Purdy. Yeah, like the defense played well.
Yeah, the defense played well.
The defense played
especially
really well.
that first half.
I'm looking, yeah, so it was about 10, 11 pressures from the Chiefs defense. So it's going to be very hard for a quarterback to produce if you're getting pressured that much. And he was sacked 4 times, and he was thrown to the ground like 4 or 5 times. Like, it's going to be very difficult. And he doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not that fast or quick. And it's going to be very difficult for a dude of his stature, of his amount of flaws that he has, amount of limitations that he has, to really produce in a game. And this game really showed me, not necessarily that he can't play, is that it showed his limitations. I think that one throw to Debo when I think Chris Jones may have pressured him, not towards the red zone, but it was like maybe 30, maybe 30, 40 yards towards the Chiefs' end zone. Chris Jones pressured him, but he was still able to get the ball out. If it was like a Josh Allen, if it was like a quarterback with a much stronger arm, maybe they could have squeezed that in there to get the touchdown. But because Brock Purdy, he's 6 feet tall, has an average arm, he's limited in what he can throw. And that's my thing with Brock is that he's a solid QB. Like on my quarterback rankings, not my QB tier, but quarterback rankings, I have him 13th right now. And we'll get to the QB tier list later on. But he's a solid QB. He maximizes just what he has, and he's very limited in what he has. And so I look at this game, I think he made some solid throws when he needed to. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He managed the game pretty well, and he nearly won the game. It's just Kirk Cousins. It's Kyle Shanahan. He just some of his decision making just wasn't right. I felt like maybe there was times where they could have ran the ball more in the fourth quarter. Maybe there was times where they could have ran certain plays that would have helped out Brock Purdy more, but they didn't do that, and they lost the game, and that's that really. That's really what it is all about. So you cannot put this on Brock Purdy. I know we've been very critical of Brock Purdy in the past, but I'm not going to be critical on him today. I think he did a solid job. I said this before the game started. I'm going to say it again. You can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, and that's that. He's talented enough where you can win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So, that's really what it's all about.
But, man, Trent Williams, man, he was getting whooped all game. He was getting holding calls, false starts. He was getting whooped up on. I said, oh, man, this Trent Williams going out bad, ain't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That whole O-line was getting cooked, man.
It was crazy.
Really bad.
It was looking really bad.
Couldn't run the ball. I think CMC had, like, maybe less than 3 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Or just over 3 yards. It was bad.
Yeah. So looking at just, can the Chiefs three-peat? You think they could three-peat?
At this point,
first team ever to three-peat?
At this point, anything is possible. If anybody could do it, I think it would be Mahomes and Andy Reid. And the crazy thing about this is the worst their offense is going to be. Because they're getting dudes in the offseason to come play with them. And that's pretty scary.
They could draft another receiver if
they
want to. Man, the receiver class this year, man, they better.
They could get a guy in free agency.
They better.
And Spagnuolo is back. Came back. He just signed an extension with them, so the defense is still going to be stout. And they're losing guys, but they're not losing like too many guys.
L'Jarius Sneed's probably gonna be gone. He's gonna demand probably.
I think they'll keep. Sneed.
Hell no, because they have to re-sign Chris Jones. There's no way.
I don't know.
There's no way they'll be able to re-sign him. He's gonna demand probably 16 to 20 million.
How much you think Chris Jones going to demand?
30.
So you would sign the more expensive dude instead of the
bro. He's the best player. He's the best player. He's the reason why that defense was dominant. He was the reason why Brock Purdy
that secondary did a lot of heavy lifting.
It did, but at the same. But let me say this though: what's more important, the trenches or the secondary?
The trenches.
Exactly, and he's their best player by far. And he was getting after it on Brock Purdy.
Yeah,
like he was making them two throws. Remember, it was in the red zone, and then the one I talked about. I think it may have been towards Debo, like 30 yards and whatever, and he was inaccurate. That was all Chris Jones. And then remember what he did to Josh Allen? Khalil Shakir? Come on now. Come on.
Also got to factor in age.
Okay, that is true. That is true.
Chris Jones is what, 30? Oh, he's 29.
Chris Jones, Chiefs, if you're smart, which I believe you are, you re-sign Chris Jones. You don't let him go. He's a what should we call it? He's one of those I forgot what they call him, but he's one of those pieces that you just can't let go.
Anchor or something like that.
Something like
Cornerstone
that. Cornerstone piece. He's one of them. Travis Kelce, Mahomes, Chris Jones. Those are the three cornerstone pieces. And Rashee Rice. Now Rashee Rice, because the way he looking, you can't let him go
on that one.
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, you can't let them go either.
And then they're getting more help in the offseason. This is
those are the 4 players you absolutely cannot get rid of.
Right.
Absolutely cannot get rid of.
One big question I have: do you think the Niners will be back? Because for me, the history says no. But the Niners are still the best team in the NFC, and they're not really losing that many guys or really
Chase
impact
Young's
players.
Probably go free agency.
Yeah, I mean,
who cares
was,
about Chase Young? He's not that good.
He's a jag at this point.
Yeah.
But
Javon Hargrave's going to be a free agent. I think he has 7 sacks for him this year.
Yeah, I don't think that it's just the history just says the odds of Brock Purdy going back to the Super Bowl again is just not very high.
Well, we thought, let's look at it. Who will be standing in their way? Because you have the Lions who nearly beat them, right?
The Packers probably.
The Rams. Now the Rams, they need a little bit more help now. They were solid. They were solid, but they still need a little bit more help. Maybe in that O-line, maybe in that defensive line, the back end as well. So they're going to need some pieces. But, again, a good draft could always help you.
Yep.
And they, for whatever reason, they know how to draft them late-round picks. So I would say the teams that will be standing in their way will be the Packers, the Lions, the Rams. The jury's still out on the Eagles. I don't know because it really the Eagles they're kind of old in certain areas. Like they lost Jason Kelce. That's a huge loss. Like that's.
Did he officially retire or is just speculation at this point? I think it's just speculation.
Well, he said he pretty much said he's retiring, and then one of his teammates said that he's not coming back.
Oh,
he don't see him coming back. He's saying he's having too much fun retiring and stuff like that. So it's looking like he'll be gone. And
Eagles know how to draft though. They'll be all right.
They have what's his name? You got
Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. They got him calling plays now. I don't know how I feel about that.
Here's the thing with Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore will be good enough for you to put up great numbers and get you to the playoffs. Soon as the playoffs starts, you'll be looking like, where was all the cool stuff you called earlier in the season?
Right.
A.J. Brown and even if A.J. Brown even comes back at this point, but Devonta Smith, get ready to run a whole bunch of hitches and curls, buddy.
Hitches and curls. Well, the jury is still out. They did bring in Vic Fangio, so that'll help out on the defense.
That's annoying.
You said that's annoying.
Because he likes to run too high, and Dak is not very good against too high.
Yeah, because Dak against zone, he's not the best when it comes against zone. I remember they played.
No, he's actually phenomenal against zone.
Shit, I remember before the Panthers game, they were like, "Oh, Dak is not." There's like a grab. It's like Dak is like 27th against zone or something. Like he's not the greatest against zone. But anywho, will they go back?
I'm gonna just say history says no, so I'm gonna say no.
I will say. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah,
I'm gonna just go with history.
I mean, you look at the stuff like you said, history, and also like the players after the game. Like it seems like the locker room is kind of like, especially like players like Brandon Ayuk being short with
and
the
then
media
injuries as well.
And
Dre
Greenlaw, he's done for pretty much next year unless they get back to the Super Bowl again, or he does that speed bridge.
They fired Steve Wilks. Maybe the defense
and then
might
hired
not
Brandon
feel,
Staley.
The defense might not feel like that was great. You never know. So Brock Purdy could always get better.
Yeah.
And that offense could elevate because Brock Purdy has gotten better over time. So it's always possible, but like you said, just history is on that not happening.
And honestly, who knows if CMC stays healthy next year?
Right. So it's a
they
lot
got
of variables.
They got a good stroke of luck these past 2 years with him being completely healthy for 2 whole seasons. That's unheard of.
Yeah, it's a lot of variables that goes into this. I'll just say that I'll go with history on this one. When it comes to the Chiefs, though, they overcome the odds. Mahomes overcomes the odds. It's like LeBron in his prime. Like LeBron just kept overcoming the odds. It's like, oh, down 3-1 in the finals. Nobody's ever come back. Like, oh, LeBron overcomes the odds. Like, But that's what Mahomes reminds me of. It's just like that LeBron and Michael Jordan type of player where they just it doesn't matter what odds say. It doesn't matter what history says. Like, he'll overcome it because he's that great. So, yeah, that's just how I look at it. I want to talk about Mahomes. You brought up he's second all time in your list. Me, because I was going to say, is Mahomes top 5 QB ever? And we both agree that Mahomes is in our top 5 ever. Yeah. I think 3 Super Bowls in 6 years of his career, 3 Super Bowls in a 5-year span is unheard of. That's something. Did Brady even do that?
Yes.
I think he did do that. He had like 3 Super Bowls. He came in like, I think maybe 0-1. I don't think he started. And then I think next year he played and he won the Super Bowl. And I think they may have went back-to-back in that time, during that time span.
I believe from 14 to 2018 he had 3 Super Bowls. Because he beat the Seahawks, he beat the Rams, and he also beat the Falcons.
No,
so, yeah,
but,
he did it too.
Yeah, so he did it twice. Because remember, he came in, they won a Super Bowl. I think it may have been 0-1.
Was that against the Rams?
Yeah. They won a Super Bowl 0-1. I think they lost. They didn't go back to Super Bowl next year, but then they went back to Super Bowl again against the Panthers. They beat them, and then next year they beat the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So they went back-to-back. I think it was 0-3, 0-4, and they won in 0-1. So he had like 3 Super Bowls in like his first 5 years maybe, and then there was like a drought for like 10 years, and then they won one in against Seattle. And then they didn't go back, and then they won. I think they won one again, and then they lost to the Eagles, and then they won one against the Rams, and
that was the last one.
Yeah.
Then he went to Tampa and
to Tampa and won. That was 7. So, yeah, Mahomes, he's top 5. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if it's a short span, only 6 years. The stuff that he's doing, I have some stats. The stuff that he's doing right now is unreal, Brian. Just looking at his playoff stats, right? So,
not only does he have 3, he has 2 MVPs.
So, here's the deal. First year starting in the playoffs. This was probably his worst. He had 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions and a 59% completion percentage. If you want to round it up, you can round it up to 60%. 2019 rolls around. He played in 3 games. He was obviously 3-0. 10 touchdowns. I believe it was the 2 interceptions. 64% completion percentage. This is when that was the year he won a Super Bowl against the 49ers. 2020 rolls around. This was the year he played against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 65% completion percentage. 4 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Now, I'm not even bringing in rushing yards. I'm not even bringing up rushing touchdowns. This is just passing yards. 2020 run rolls around. This was like, he lost to the Cincinnati Bengals. But guess what? 11 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 73% completion percentage. And he didn't even go to the Super Bowl that year. He lost to the Bengals. 11 touchdowns to 3 interceptions.
Something happened that second half against the Bengals. He was completely off. I don't know what the heck was going on.
Yeah, that Luanarumo defense was serious. 2022 rolls around. He's back in the Super Bowl again. His playoff run, 72% completion percentage, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. I'm not even bringing up the rushing touchdowns. 2023, this year, 69.8 completion percentage. You can round that up to 70%. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. And the 1 interception was against the 49ers in the Super Bowl. That is an unbelievable run. And these are just the playoffs. I didn't even name the regular season stats. Now, if you want to compare it to other quarterbacks who you say, oh, Mahomes hasn't surpassed yet in order to be in the top 5. I have those stats too. I have Drew Brees. I have Aaron Rodgers. I have John Elway. If you want to know, I got Peyton Manning. I got Tom Brady too. I'll go to those guys. While I do that, your thoughts on
listening to those stats.
Like I said, top 2 all time for a reason. We see. Listen, y'all need to stop denying the history. Yes, Peyton Manning is great. Joe Montana was great. John Elway great. Aaron Rodgers great. Drew Brees is great. Listen, Mahomes is something we've never seen before. Literally something we've never seen. He's honestly the most talented QB, if not a top 3 most talented QB, and he's also on pace to smash Brady's Super Bowl wins.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, what are we doing here?
So
people just trying to deny because it's a new age and they don't like the way the new football is being played. Who cares? The man is great. He's whooping up on everybody. You don't bet against Mahomes. He's earned that respect, and he's just going to continue to win as long as him and Andy Reid keep doing the daggone thing. I don't even know. This dude is a lot of people. You know Mahomes is all time great when people is rooting against him. They giving him the treatment. They giving him the LeBron and Warriors treatment. I don't want to see these dudes win anymore.
Yeah.
That's how you know and he only won 2 Super Bowls.
Now he's on his 3rd one.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. People.
Y'all don't want him to win after only winning 2 rings. Sheesh. That's how you know he great.
Man. And see, here's the thing. So I'm looking at Drew Brees right here because you could argue, oh, Drew Brees, he's top 5. So looking at his playoff stats, right? So he had, in my opinion, probably his greatest year, which was the year he won the Super Bowl. He was 8 touchdowns to 0 interceptions. He had a 70% completion percentage. This was 2009. I'm not going to count the Chargers one because he was like pretty much a game manager. He wasn't really that good, although he had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, 73% completion percentage. He wasn't really the driving force of that team. So 06 comes around 58% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. I already told you about 2009. 2010 rolls around. 65% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in 1 game. I think that was the year they played the Seahawks and they got upset by Marshawn Lynch and them. So that never happened to Mahomes. Never happened to Mahomes, just saying. And by the way, 06, right? After that, a 2-year playoff drought. Mahomes has made the playoffs every single year. Just saying. 2011.
This is his first year not having home field advantage too.
Think about that, and it just helped his legacy even more because.
And you can argue that his teams were less talented than everyone he's played.
Right.
Besides the Dolphins, maybe. Actually, no. Maybe the Dolphins too. At least on offense.
Right. So he had to go on the road for 2 games. And he was still able to win those games. And that's the thing about Mahomes. His story is not over yet when it comes to proving people wrong about certain things. The one that we just talked about when it comes to, he hasn't gone on the road yet to win. Can he win on the road? Well, he proved us wrong about that. And then there's other stuff as well that he still probably needs to prove to some haters that think, he's not. Can he?
They need to wake up and smell the coffee.
There was one thing I was thinking about that people probably are still waiting for Mahomes to prove, but it is what it is. Let's see, going to 2013. See, again, Drew Brees didn't make the playoffs in 2012. So there are like years where he doesn't even make the playoffs. Like from 2014 to 2016, he didn't make the playoffs. So in Drew Brees' legacy, if you want to make a case that, Mahomes hasn't surpassed Drew Brees, well, Mahomes has made the playoffs for 6 straight years. And he's been cooking every single year. And in every single year, he's made it to the AFC, at least the AFC championship game. And he's had home field advantage for everyone except this year. Think about that. 3 Super Bowls. And he hasn't, and the only reason he lost to Brady is because he didn't have an O-line. And he still played okay for what he was dealt with. He's only 28 years old, and he's done all of this. Drew Brees hasn't even won an MVP.
So if you're gonna argue for Drew Brees, I'm sorry, like, dude, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the stats. And Mahomes, his resume is just so much better than Drew Brees, even though Drew Brees has played a lot more years than him. All right, and then let's go to the other QBs. Let's go to Aaron Rodgers. I do have Aaron Rodgers still in my top 5 though, but I think Mahomes has surpassed Aaron Rodgers. So Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs in 09, excuse me. He didn't play in 07. That was Brett Favre. And in 08, they didn't make the playoffs. So in 09, Aaron Rodgers lost in the wild card. He played well, actually. He had 4 touchdowns, 1 interception, 420 yards, 66% completion percentage. But they lost in a wild card game. That was a hell of a game. I remember it was the Cardinals against the Cardinals that game. 2010, he won the Super Bowl. He was 9 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He had 68% completion percentage. So yeah, that was a great year for him. That was an all-time great year for him. That was the only time he won a Super Bowl, by the way. 2011 rolls around. He lost to the Giants this year. I think they were like 15-1. Didn't have the greatest game. He had like 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 56% completion percentage. 2012 rolls around. He was 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. I forget what happened this year.
What year?
This was 2012.
Isn't that the year? Who went to the Super Bowl? Oh, ain't that the
Niners run? Was that
the
Niners run?
The Niners and Ravens Super Bowl 2012?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and that's when Joe Flacco had that crazy throw to, was it Jacoby Jones?
Yeah, Jacoby
down
Jones.
That sideline.
Yeah. That was it right there.
Like late in the game.
I think that was the year when Aaron Rodgers may have hurt his collarbone or something. I remember he came back from like an injury late in the year.
Oh, we're talking about the Packers?
Yeah, I'm talking about
I'm
talking about Aaron Rodgers.
About the damn.
I'm talking
I thought we were talking about Manning for a second. Oh my bad.
No. I'm just.
Oh, I don't know what happened that year.
I'm just. What I'm doing now is I'm comparing Mahomes to Aaron Rodgers and their playoff.
Okay,
because I'm trying to make this argument that not only is Mahomes top 5, but he's better than Aaron Rodgers already.
Oh, yeah.
And
he was better last year.
But I'm looking at their runs and I'm saying, well, Mahomes has made it to the AFC Championship, at least the AFC Championship, every single year he has started, and has had home field advantage for almost every single year except this year. And he's been hooping every single year in the playoffs. While Aaron Rodgers, he's been up and down in the playoffs. Like, I'm looking at 2016, he was sensational. He was amazing until he played the Falcons, where the talent disparity it wasn't even close. Like, the Falcons were by far the more talented team. He was like 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And he made it to the championship game. But he lost. And that was the case for him in 2020, in 2019, and in 2021, where he would make it to the championship game and he would lose. Now, 2021, he made it to the division round with the number 1 seed, and he lost to the Niners. He couldn't. I think they only scored 10 points, and the Niners scored 13. Yeah. See, that doesn't happen for Mahomes. Mahomes doesn't let that happen. You know what I mean? A game like that, he wins. And see, that's why I have Mahomes over Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has the better career stats right now because he played more. But Mahomes, 3 Super Bowls, 1 loss. I'm sorry. He just elevated. And I think Mahomes, I would say this. Where I would rank Mahomes right now, I'll probably put him at 4. You putting him at 2 right now. I put him at 4 because I still have a lot of respect for Peyton Manning and his career.
I do too.
And Joe Montana.
But Mahomes already passed his achievements.
That's your argument. That's your argument. But me personally, I think Manning and Joe Montana, I have them ahead right now. But if Mahomes accumulates more stats, I give him.
He's going to.
I give him. I say 2 years. Matter of fact, no, I say 1 year. I give him 1 year.
Just give it to him now. You just trying to play politically correct
for
the old heads out there.
In terms of when I'm talking about Peyton Manning, if Mahomes somehow does the same thing he did this year, if he does it next season, then I'll be like, all right, he's ahead of Peyton Manning.
Okay, so let me get this straight. he has more rings.
Mm-hmm.
He has less Super Bowl losses.
Okay.
He has better playoff stats than Manning. Yet you want to keep Manning ahead of him because of longevity?
Manning
Manning.
What Manning did? 5 MVPs?
That is spectacular.
5 MVPs.
That is spectacular.
He has the most passing yards in the season, most passing touchdowns in the season. And look at the era that we're in. This was 10, 11 years ago.
And
he had an
all-time offense.
His arm, he could barely throw it past 40 yards with his arm.
That was like later in
that was 2013.
When the Broncos had that.
Yes.
He could have thrown past.
It was difficult.
How did he get?
Do you know
that was one of the best offenses of all time?
I know.
So how was that possible?
Did you see what Richard Sherman said in the Super Bowl?
What did he say?
He said something about throwing a duck.
Oh yeah, okay.
And he did throw a duck. Come on now. I'm not saying he couldn't do it, but I'm saying it wasn't easy. It wasn't like he used to be able to throw it back in his younger days where it was effortless. Like he had to like really throw some, really put some effort into throwing that 50-yard pass. So I'm gonna still put some respect on Peyton Manning's name.
I love Peyton Manning.
I will say that
he would be 2 if I didn't put Mahomes there.
I will say that he did have some playoff woes,
especially early in his career.
Absolutely, I will say that. But just he's the greatest regular season quarterback we ever seen. He is 5 MVPs, bro. 5 MVPs is crazy, and he has the all-time passing yards record for a season and passing touchdowns. Mahomes hasn't even eclipsed that yet. It's crazy. That's just where I am. But I can respect you for putting Mahomes at 2. I just think that he still has a little ways to go. He's close, though. He's like right there. He's literally right there. But I just need to see a little bit more before he can eclipse Peyton Manning. A little bit more. Maybe even Joe Montana, too. If he wins another Super Bowl, I mean, in my opinion, he's easily top 2.
Joe Montana.
He's easily top 2 if he wins another Super Bowl. Like, it's a wrap. It's just him and Brady, honestly, at that point.
I think it's already just him and Brady.
Okay, all right.
I mean, everyone, I respect your opinion.
If you want to say that.
I see what you're saying, though. You're just saying he needs more, like, regular season
achievements.
I get what you're saying.
I understand. People
so what if
he
wins another MVP?
If he wins another MVP, I give it to him.
Okay.
I give it to him. If he just needs to win, I would say like next year if he makes the AFC Championship game again, he plays well, he has another great run, then all right, I think I'll put him ahead of Manning. I'll put him ahead of Manning.
That's fair.
I think that'll be enough for him to like oversee him.
Propel him. Yep,
yeah.
Got you.
So that is what it is. All right, let's go to I want to talk about Steve Wilks. Who's Steve Wilks? Steve Wilks is the former 49ers defensive coordinator. He was the defensive coordinator who was overseeing the defense against the Chiefs this past Super Bowl, and he got fired. He was let go by Kyle Shanahan for whatever reason, pretty much the scapegoat of it all. And I have some stats. I know I keep saying I have some stats.
Because allegedly we don't use stats and all of that stuff.
Exactly. Even though I did use stats last week. But all right, you guys want to keep playing with my name, I'll bring up some stats for you guys to look over. All right, so the defense, right? I just want to talk about the Chiefs' drive. Punt, fumble, field goal, interception, punt, field goal, punt. This is from like 3 minutes. Not 3 minutes. This is like 3 quarters all the way to the 2nd minute mark. And then they score touchdown, field goal, touchdown. What am I talking about? That is the Chiefs' drive. So from the first 3.5, matter of fact, 3 3/4 quarters, punt, fumble, punt, field goal, interception, punt, field goal, punt. That sounds like a really good defense to me.
Yeah.
They held them to 2 field goals. It wasn't until late in the third quarter where they got a touchdown, and then they got 2 field goals again, and then they got a touchdown in overtime. So how is that Steve Wilks' fault? Why is he being scapegoated? Oh, because that one play in overtime where he had, I think it was cover 0. It was like a bomb blitz, and then they had Rashid Rice in like a crossing route, pretty much wide open, and Mahomes threw it to him, and they got the first down. That was the only. There might have been another play that I'm missing.
Didn't they say Shanahan called a timeout because he didn't like the look he had on the field?
He did. Mm-hmm. There might have been another play that I'm forgetting. I remember there was like another play, and then you could say, well, Nick Bosa, he wasn't like doing a good job. What was it?
That was his fault.
But that was his fault.
That played the Mahomes scramble.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa got upfield instead of playing discipline.
Yeah. So let me get this straight, Kyle Shanahan. You're going to scapegoat Steve Wilks. Now, I'll say this about Steve Wilks. Damn, I wish he was still the DC because the Packers and the Lions were shredding that defense. But at the same time, though, they were still a top 5
You held
defense.
Mahomes to 19 points in regulation, and your offense couldn't get you 20 points.
And they were missing Dre Greenlaw. Imagine if he was on the field. Because when he was on the field, they couldn't do anything. They wasn't doing nothing. So he was missing one of their 5 best defensive players, arguably maybe even top 3 if you want to go that far, and he was still able to hold them to 19 points. I'm going to say it again. Punt, fumble, punt, field goal, interception, punt, field goal, punt. This is until the later end of the third quarter, dude. And you're blaming him. That was their first touchdown with 2 minutes and 32 seconds left in the third quarter. That was their first touchdown. And you want to blame him of all people.
I got some questions. Did Steve Wilks make the 49ers go 3 for 12 on third down?
No.
Did Steve Wilks have Christian McCaffrey at only 33 rushing yards at the half?
No.
Did Steve Wilks have 2 series where they threw 6 passes?
No.
In a row?
No. That's on Kyle Shanahan. And you know what
Steve
it
Wilks
is?
the reason they couldn't run the freaking ball until like late in the game?
No. You know what it is, Brian? It was, I believe they probably have had issues the entire season, and he wanted an excuse to let him go. They probably were bumping heads the entire season. Different philosophies and all the other stuff. Kyle Shanahan wants the defense to play it this way. Steve Wilks likes doing it the other way. And see, by the end of the season, Kyle Shanahan probably had enough. Probably was like, I didn't really like him in the first place, so I'm going to make an excuse. And see, that's the problem. That's really what it is. He wanted to find a reason to let him go. And so after the Super Bowl, that's what he did. It has nothing to do with scheme. It has nothing to do with the play on the field. It has everything to do with 2 guys not getting along.
Yeah, something had to be up because D'Amico Ryan's defense in that championship game got absolutely slaughtered by the Eagles, and he gets a head coaching job, and everyone still likes him, but Steve Wilks holds the Chiefs to 19 points in the Super Bowl in regulation, and now he gets immediately fired.
Yep. Yes. They don't really care, bro. He doesn't. He's gonna bring in his friend Brandon Staley. Probably he's gonna bring in somebody that agrees with him. That's a yes man, and that's what it is. That's what it's gonna be. Steve Wilks has been getting hold for so many years in the NFL. First with the Cardinals, 1 year getting fired. Carolina, he was the interim coach. They decided to go in a different direction with Frank Reich, even though the players like Steve Wilks. He gets hired with the 49ers, and 1 year he's out after having a top 5 defense, even though I do wish he was still the defensive coordinator because that defense wasn't looking as dominant. But they still were top 5, and they still helped Mahomes to only 19 points in regulation.
They gave up in like the regular season. I think they points against was like 18 or 19, but in the playoffs it was like 24. I mean, you're playing better teams, so I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and the offense was really good.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was playing scrub offenses. Like the Packers cooked my Cowboys, top 5 defense or whatever they try to claim us as, and then the Lions they was having the top 3 offense all year, so it wasn't like he was getting cooked by the Baker Mayfield led Buccaneers or something, you know.
And then just to help your point even more, when the 49ers were coming back, the defense had to get some stops in order for them to come back. So, I mean, the Lions, they scored 30-something, but guess what? The 49ers went on like a, 28-something run? The 49ers defense had to do something about that as well to help them out. So, I mean, they did their job in the second half. In the second half, the Lions couldn't score.
You know what's crazy? You ain't even mentioned the fact that the 49ers defense forced 2 turnovers that game in the Super Bowl.
Right. So, yeah. It's not about the play on the field. It's about just 2 guys not getting along. That's really what it is. It's egos, bro. It's all about egos. And I pray for his downfall. I pray for his downfall. I know, Aaron, you're supposed to be objective. Damn it. When it comes to the 49ers, sometimes when it comes to certain things, I pray for their downfall. But, man.
Oh, yeah, I was absolutely rooting against the 49ers.
Absolutely, I was rooting for them.
I'm a Cowboy. What do I look like rooting for the 49ers?
I had money on the Chiefs, too. Hell yeah, I'm rooting against them. But this is all, like, I'm being objective. I'm being serious about this. Besides, yeah, I'm being serious about this. All right, let's go to the next topic. Let's go to the QB tier list. So
we recorded one a few weeks ago, but we just decided to wait until the playoffs was over and the Super Bowl was finished, so we could get a full big picture of everything.
Yeah. So this is the end of the season after the Super Bowl. So I will be taking into account playoffs. I'm not gonna say that the playoffs either bump or put you down on the list per se to a significant level, but I will take account playoffs to a certain degree.
I've simplified my list quite a bit.
Yeah, I changed it up a little bit.
And I have left people off that like backups. Like Joe Flacco isn't on it because I don't think he's even going to play next year.
I will say this. So for me and how I did my list, so like for instance, when I put the players that are injured or got injured during the year, what qualifies them to be on that category, if you didn't play more than half of the games.
Okay.
So if you played more than half of the games, then you qualify to be on the other categories. But if you didn't play more than half of the games, then you're gonna be on the not played enough type of deal. Matter of fact, let me get my QB list. All right. So I'm gonna start first. So my categories are: he's him, he's a dude, he aight, mid, bad but not the worst, he stinks, and not enough games. Like I said, if you didn't play half of the games, at least half of the games, then you're gonna be on that list of not enough games. And so on not enough games, I put Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, and Joe Flacco. Those are all the guys that
Is this just
didn't
only
play.
for this year?
This is for this year. This is 2020. Oh. So the entire season, including the playoffs. Well, actually, no. So like
previous years reps don't go into this.
No. This is for just this season alone.
Okay. Then I got some adjustments to make then.
And Joe Flacco only played 5 regular season games, so I'm not gonna put him like on any of the other tiers because he only played 5 regular season games. That's a small sample size. Okay, all right, and then on he stinks is Mac Jones, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill, Jimmy Garoppolo, Aiden O'Connell. Those are the dudes that are on he stinks. And then bad but not the worst, I'm put Deshaun, Bryce Young, Sam Howell. Bad but not the worst. And then on mid-tier, I have Trevor Lawrence, I have Justin Fields, Geno Smith, Russell Wilson. On he aight, I have Tua, Jared Goff, Jalen Hurts, Baker Mayfield. He's a dude. I have C.J. Stroud. I have Jordan Love. I have Dak. I have Matthew Stafford. I have Justin Herbert. And I have Joe Burrow. And then he's him. I have Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Brock Purdy. That's my list.
Well, you got what? wait, say that last part again.
I said he's him. I have Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar, Brock Purdy.
I can't believe you've gone to the dark side.
Listen, man, the reason I have Brock Purdy, I went back and forth with this one. I'm not saying Brock Purdy is a top 4 QB because in my list, not QB tier list, but my QB rankings, which is different, I have Brock Purdy at QB 13. But when it comes to just this season alone, breaking it down like that, I have Brock Purdy on he's him because of the playoff run. He showed me some stuff. The overcoming, the coming back. It's not his fault they lost in the Super Bowl. And then his stats for the year, coupled with the playoff success, I think he deserves to be on he's him.
I guess.
I knew you were going to say that. All right, go right ahead. What's your list, bro?
All right, so after new information, I have to make some quick adjustments. But, all right, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tiers in mind. It goes in order like this. The first tier is Mahomes. Literally, it's just Mahomes. I don't think no other QB should be in that category after what he did this year in the playoffs, Super Bowl, and things of that nature. I have the second tier is just the gap. It's nobody there. It's just the gap tier. Because to show that there's really levels to this. And my third tier is elite. And the elite QBs, there's only 2 of them. Okay. Because one got injured. Okay. It's Lamar and Josh Allen. Okay. That's it. All right. And then the fourth tier is what I call the franchise guys. Okay. The guys that you're comfortable with their QB and they can lead your franchise. Okay. And that tier consists of Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, Jordan Love, C.J. Stroud, Jared Goff. Yes, Trevor Lawrence is on this tier. What? Even though I didn't want to do it. I ain't want to do it, but Trevor Lawrence is on the franchise guy tier.
It should mind.
Jalen Hurts. Brock Purdy is on the franchise guys tier. Kyler Murray, Matt Stafford.
That's too many people.
No, it's not. These are legit. These are franchise QBs.
That tier list is weird, bro. You got to change it up.
No.
All right, well, that's your tier list. All right, whatever.
And Matt Stafford, Kirk Cousins would be there, but he's hurt. So yeah, we'll get to that. The Jags. This is the Jags. Maybe a little controversial here, but I don't care. Tua, Geno, Baker, Russ, and Deshaun Watson, freak man. Now, this tier is a little interesting. I call this, you would probably say, oh, he stinks. I would say will/should get replaced by a rookie QB. And the leader of the tier is Sam Howell. Then we got Daniel Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill, Justin Fields. I hate it had to be him. I hate it had to be him.
Okay, man.
Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Mac Jones, Derek Carr. And then the last tier is too soon to tell or they got injured. Aaron Rodgers, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Joe Burrow, and Kirk Cousins. Okay. That is the tier list. I would have done a more intricate, but then it would be too close to like a ranking at that point. If I did it the way I would usually do it, it would be too close to a ranking. So I just say I'm gonna just make a generalized tier list.
I don't like the tier list.
Of course you don't, because that's Trevor Lawrence as a franchise QB.
I think that's a strange tier list. Because if we're going off of just this season, I don't know how I feel about that tier list being constructed if we're going off of just this season and what we saw this season. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is not a franchise guy, but I feel like
He didn't play like one this year.
Yeah, he didn't play like one. In terms of like just everything we've seen this season and the play from this season, I think you need to maybe change up the way that you do your tier list a little bit. Now, we're going to keep it. That's your tier list for now. We're going to keep it. You might change things up next time when we're around, close to training camp and all the other stuff. But me personally, the way that you constructed it, when we're just talking about this season, I don't know if I'm feeling good about that. But it is what it is, man. I mean, it's accurate from the sense that if you're going off of what you put for the tier list, like when you said a rookie will replace the quarterback, okay, yeah, that's true. That is true. But at the same time,
everyone in this tier played like garbage. That's why.
At the same time, when I look at a Justin Fields, right, I'm not saying he's the best quarterback ever, but I don't think he stinks. I still think he's good enough where I think he played close to the same level as Trevor Lawrence this year. Now, you could say, well, part of that is because Trevor Lawrence, his receivers drop passes. Trevor Lawrence, his offensive coordinator. But I could say the same thing about Justin Fields as well. Have you seen Darnell Mooney? Have you seen Velus Jones? Have you seen that offensive line? Have you seen that offensive coordinator and what he subjected him to?
I believe Justin Fields to Darnell Mooney is one of the worst.
It is. It actually is.
One of the worst, graded or QB connections or something like that.
It actually is. It actually is. Yeah. And I think Justin Fields to DJ Moore is one of the best.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm not saying that I would rather have Justin Fields over Trevor Lawrence, but when it comes to the QB play this season, a legitimate argument could be made that Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence had about the same productivity.
Sure.
Because I looked at Trevor Lawrence in some games, and I'm like, yo, where is the improvement? Huh? Where is it? And I've seen flashes with Justin Fields, and he's been very inconsistent, but I've seen flashes. 4 touchdown games, passing. 3 touchdown games, passing. Back to back. 10 touchdowns. Was it 8 or 10 touchdowns in maybe a 3-game span or something? It was like a small sample size. It was like maybe 3 games. He had 10 touchdowns and maybe 2 interceptions or something. Trevor Lawrence didn't have that, and he has far better talent, and he has supposedly a good head coach in Doug Peterson, but didn't have that ceiling, have that floor. So that's where I push back on this idea that, well, you have Trevor Lawrence in the franchise category, but you have Justin Fields in this category. But the description, the way that you wrote it, it is accurate. But I'm just saying it doesn't speak to the productivity of the two QBs. It just doesn't. That's where I'm sort of pushing back on.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because we're looking at okay, how did they play on the field, and that just
the way I put it as where do we stand today as the quarterbacks? Obviously I took into the previous year's account, but I'm talking like where do we stand today? The season is over. Where do these QBs stand at right in this current moment?
All right. I mean, okay. I mean, again, that's the way that you labeled it is
if
accurate.
We still did this while the season was still in play, even a day before the Super Bowl, it would be different.
Right. Okay. It's accurate. I mean, it's an accurate. The way that you label it is accurate. I'm just saying, Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, you could argue had the same sort of
Let's look it up. Actually,
productivity.
I think they played about the same amount of games.
Yeah,
I think Trevor Lawrence got hurt.
Yeah. I'm just saying the games that I've seen from Trevor Lawrence and the games I've seen from Justin Fields. Justin Fields has had higher peaks this year than Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence was kind of stinky.
See what I mean?
4,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, 14 picks, 88 passer rating. And Justin Fields,
he don't have no 4,000 yards. I know that for sure.
I think he maybe had
maybe
if
3,000.
maybe 3,000.
3,000.
Justin Fields, on the other hand, he only had 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions.
What was the pass? What was the rushing yards?
Oh, rushing yards?
Yeah, because he's a dual threat.
Yeah, he is. His rushing yards was where is it? He had ESPN is terrible. Oh, there you go. He had 657 rushing yards.
Okay. How many did he have? Any rushing touchdowns?
4 touchdowns.
4 touchdowns. Okay.
So we had 20 total touchdowns.
Okay.
To 19 picks.
How many games did he miss? Like 4? 3 or 4?
He played.
Remember, he missed like
he played 13 games.
Played 13 games.
So he missed what, 6?
Something like that.
No, not 6. That's 19.
No.
He missed 4 games.
4 games, and Trevor Lawrence missed like 2.
Yeah, something like that.
2. Okay, well. Yeah. Anywho, but
he did take 44 sacks, which is crazy.
Yeah, some of that was on him. I will say that, but Justin Fields did have higher peaks. I do believe. I don't think Trevor Lawrence had a 3 touchdown game. If he did, he probably had like 1. I think Justin Fields maybe had like 2.
I know that one game in the snow he had like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's just the thing with Justin Fields. It's like he's very up and down. He's very inconsistent. He has like flashes of greatness that if you're like a head coach and you understand offense, you're like, maybe if I put him in my system, we can elevate him. And then he has like moments where you're like, ooh, what's going on? Why isn't he converting as he was a few weeks ago? So that's really the thing with Justin Fields. But then you can go to the point where he doesn't have a whole lot of pieces. Like Chase Claypool was there at one point. Darnell Mooney's not that good. The tight ends are pretty mediocre. Cole Kmet, I mean, he's okay, but like he can't outrun nobody for real.
Yeah.
So, and then you look at Trevor Lawrence. He has Evan Ingram. He has Calvin Ridley. He has Christian Kirk. Like, I mean, so.
And then he had ETN.
ETN as well, and he still struggled in certain aspects of the game. All right, well, anywho, that's the QB tier list, and yeah, just want to remind you all that this is not my QB rankings. That's different. QB tier list and QB rankings is completely different. So I just want to keep that in mind. I don't think Brock Purdy is a top 4 QB. So don't go on there talking about I'm a hypocrite and everything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm going off of the season, stats, and then the playoff run. And yeah. Okay. So, all right. Last topic of the day.
As if we haven't had enough suffering already.
So see,
back to the Commanders.
This is the last time we're going to talk about the subject in terms of the coaching staff until probably the season or anything like that. So I want to grade the Commanders coaching staff. Now I have the list. I was gonna if I had the HDMI cord, I would have projected on the TV, but let's go here. So I just want to
kind of see these pixels.
So if not, you can go to Scott's Twitter.
Oh, okay.
He posted on there. So, matter of fact, I may have bookmarked it on the Courtside View Twitter account, so you can go on that as well.
Yep, I see it.
So, here's the deal. For the Commanders coaching staff, I think for me personally, the positions I'm really paying attention to is the offensive coordinator, it's the passing game coordinator, it's the offensive line, it's the quarterback's coach, it's the DB coach, it's the defensive coordinator, the linebackers coach, and the player development coach. So those are like the positions I'm really paying attention. I don't really care about the tight end or the assistant offensive line or offensive quality coach. I don't care about that stuff. Or the I don't really know much about defensive pass game coordinator. I mean, I don't know if you.
I'm not.
Defensive line coach. I mean, it's okay. Like they did hire Darryl Tapp, who was a really good player for the Commanders back in the day. So that's a huge hire. But just going down the list, obviously they hired Dan Quinn. You guys already know if you watched the past videos. I'm not really I'm not really too fond of that hiring. We already talked about it. I know a lot of new viewers will watch this video and not know what I said, so the link is in the description if you want to go watch that and my reaction to Dan Quinn being hired as the head coach. I'm not too fond of that at all. Don't really know who the coaching chief or staff is. Don't really care. Player development. So this guy by the name of Pete. I don't even know how to say his last name. I'm not even going to try to say his last name. I looked at, I researched, because people in the comments say I don't do research. I researched the player development coach. So when it comes to player development, pretty much like the job, it says it goes beyond the usual position drills or offensive and defensive schemes. It's about developing leadership skills, coachability skills, locker room management, and culture. That's pretty much what the player development coach is. So, like, I saw something where it's like the player development coach will have, like, one of the players, you sit down and watch film with them. That's one of the things that they do. And that's really what a player development coach, their job is to develop the player, improve the player. It might be, I don't know, it could be training. It could be whatever. That's really what the player development coach is. So the player development coach, this guy by the name of Pete, I'm not even going to try to say his last name, doesn't really have a big resume. He was with the Cowboys last year. He was the quality control defensive assistant for the Cowboys. He was a professional scout for the NFL for 2 years. And he was an actor for 24 years before that. So he doesn't really have a whole lot on his resume.
Interesting.
He is the player development coach, so I guess that isn't a huge big a deal, but I would have loved to have a little bit more on his resume. I mean, his first time with an NFL team was with the Cowboys last year, so he's still new to the NFL, per se, when it comes to being on teams. All right, let's go to the passing game coordinator. So there was a person in the comment section of the previous video who talked about Brian Johnson. It was like, oh, he was the QB coach for Jalen Hurts, and they played well. So what's the problem with him being the passing game coordinator when he was the QB coach for the Eagles and they played well? Totally different jobs. A QB coach, their job is to work on the QB's fundamentals, drills, etc. If the QB is complaining about something, if they want to vent, they're pretty much their therapist. That's what the QB coach
They
is.
also, like on the sidelines, like games, they have like the pad, like let them know if they missed like a read or something, or what they see on
right.
So, yeah.
But passing game coordinator, which Brian Johnson will be this year, right? He is the guy that organizes the passing game from concepts, personnel, formations, based on every conceivable situation. Pretty much, he's the one. So, like, the obviously the OC, if they're like a Cliff Kingsbury who pretty much has autonomy on the offense, they'll bring in their own scheme, what they want to do, and stuff like that, and then they'll communicate with the passing game coordinator, like, okay, this is what I like to do in the scheme, yada, 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 and they work together, and the passing game coordinator sort of dials up the routes and everything like that, and then I guarantee you that once the passing game coordinator dials up the routes, he goes talk to the OC, and the OC, he'll either approve it or deny it. I doubt he just dials up the routes and that's just it. Like, they don't get it approved or anything like that. And see, that's where when I look at Brian Johnson with the Eagles, I'm saying to myself, he probably approved those routes. There's no way in hell the guy just drew it up and he was like, oh, that's he just like, all right, here's the routes and we're just gonna run that. Like, no, they had to go over it and like, okay, I like this, like that, and that's where I'm a bit. I don't know how I feel about that hire. I don't like that hire at all, because Brian Johnson was the OC and he had to approve certain route combinations for the Eagles for the passing game coordinator for the Eagles last year. And so now he's the passing game coordinator and Cliff Kingsbury is the OC. And what we saw from Cliff Kingsbury with the Cardinals wasn't that great. The offense would look good the first half of the season, and the second half of the season, teams would game plan better. They would watch a lot of film, and they would figure them out like that. And that's where I have my problems with the Cliff Kingsbury hire and the Brian Johnson hire, is because they both have gotten exposed in the past for their offenses. And so that's my problem. That's my gripe. I'll let you speak on Joe Witt because you have a bit more, you know a little bit more, but he has a lot of experience, which is good. I'm not even going to go to college. He was an assistant defensive back for the Atlanta Falcons in 2007. I'm not even going to go all the way back. He was with Green Bay.
Yeah, he was.
For 2009 to 2017, he was the cornerbacks coach. He was the passing game coordinator for the Green Bay Packers. We sucked that year. The Cleveland Browns, he was the passing game coordinator, secondary coach for the Cleveland Browns in 2019. I think they were good that year. I don't remember. But
the 1920 season or 1819?
It just says 2019, so I'm assuming
1920.
What year did they play the Chiefs in the playoffs?
The year where they beat the Steelers?
Yeah.
That was 2020.
So I'm because the playoffs is like in 2020. This was like the 2019 Cleveland Browns, but obviously the playoffs is like in the next year. So I'm assuming that was probably a good year.
Yeah.
Atlanta Falcons, he was the passing game coordinator in 2020. They weren't that good that year. Dallas Cowboys, he was with them for the past 2 years.
Was he the linebackers coach?
He was the passing game coordinator / secondary coach.
Huh?
It says passing game coordinator / secondary.
For the Cowboys?
Yeah.
Al Harris was I thought he was the secondary coach.
Well, it says passing game coordinator / secondary. Well, I mean, maybe he
I believe Joe Witt was the linebackers coach. Or yeah, I think he was the linebackers coach.
Well, regardless, that's what it is.
Either way.
It is.
I like Joe Witt. He was cool.
Yeah. So and then now he's the defensive coordinator.
I actually really like that hire because he was one of the guys I said, well, if we had to choose. I thought if we was going to hire from within, I would just say, just hire Joe Witt and promote him as the DC. But, we got Mike Zimmer, who I think is better anyway. So, hey, I'll take it. Yeah, I like the Joe. Honestly,
that's probably the best hire.
In like the first week or so, I really didn't like this coaching staff for the Commanders. I thought it was going to be a lot of foolishness. But given the circumstances and their top dude backing out like that and then you look at Mike McDonald, he doesn't even have his staff filled out. He got hired before Dan Quinn, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, based off what they had to work with, they did pretty well. And, and I really think it's because the 49ers guy, I forgot his name.
Peters.
Yeah, Adam Peters. I think he really helped in this process as far as, because it's 49ers. No, 49ers is a well-run organization. I might as well go coach. Like, the Anthony Lynn hire, I like that. Veteran coach. Doesn't really have that, like, he was, I thought Anthony Lynn was a defensive guy before.
He was. A lot of these coaches, like they went offense, they went defense. They were like secondary. Like Raheem Morris, he was I think he may have worked with the wide receivers in Atlanta. So like they do both because they want to have maybe they just want to have an understanding. Yeah, like that. Have an understanding of offense and defense. It would help for the
usually
resume.
if you understand defense, you could probably understand offense because you got a game plan against the offense. Right. But so yeah, I mean. I'm not. But I heard bad things about Bobby Johnson.
Yeah,
the O-line coach. I think he was the Giants O-line coach,
and the Bills.
Yeah, and their lines haven't. That line, Johnson line was terrible, but they was good against the Commanders. So hey, maybe they liked what they saw. Cliff Kingsbury.
He's just not it for me, bro. He's just not it.
I'm iffy on him. I mean, I think he could. Maybe he's learned from his mistakes in the past. I don't know. David Blau was interesting. He was literally just a quarterback, but like, hey, salute. I mean, Kellen Moore, he was on that Kellen Moore trajectory. It looks like Bobby Ingram. I don't know too much about him. Brian Johnson, I'm still kind of head scratchy about that one. But yeah,
the DB coach Tommy Donatel. I'm not.
I don't know.
I looked at him too. He was with the Chargers and he was with the Seahawks. So 2017 The 2020, he was with the Seahawks. He was the defensive quality control coach. I don't know what they do. Then he went to the Chargers from 2021 to 2023. He was the assistant secondary coach, and then he became the defensive passing game coordinator for a Chargers team that went 5-12, and that was absolutely atrocious on defense. 2021, they were like 9-8. See, the thing with me is that he went to the Chargers. I don't think the defense was that good. I don't think when I remember Darren James, he came out, he was just balling.
Then he kept getting hurt.
And then he kept
now
getting
he's
hurt.
Cooked food.
I don't know how I feel about that hire as well. I'm not that confident because I'm looking at his resume, and it's not that impressive. When he went to the Seahawks, the defense wasn't that great. When he went to the Chargers, the defense wasn't that great. It was all right. The secondary was and he's a DB coach.
He's got his work cut out for him. I'll say that, because especially since you got to develop Emmanuel Forbes, and then Benjamin St-Juste. He was one of the worst corners in the league last year as far as yards allowed.
Yeah, and then the QB coach,
Kendall Fuller. We don't know if he'll be back. I think he's a free agent this year.
And then the QB coach, I'm looking at Tavita. He was, in terms of like, he doesn't really have a whole lot of experience in the NFL. I'm looking at just he came from Stanford. He was the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach. So he doesn't really have a whole lot of experience on the NFL level. So I'm a bit I think he coached a straight Davis from college Mills. Guy? I think he coached Davis Mills. But that's about it. Yeah, he's pretty much a college guy, dude. Like, I don't see, he doesn't really have a whole lot.
They are bringing in a college QB to come in, so who knows?
But the only quarterback that he's really been known for is Davis Mills.
No other QBs played at Stanford that made the league?
Even if they did, they weren't that good.
I will say, I do like the defensive side of the coaching staff a lot more than the offensive side.
I agree.
Because Joe Witt, I think that's a good hire. Brian Kerrigan, Commanders legend, I like that.
Ken Norton Jr.,
Ken Norton
Jr., I like
John
that
Pagano,
one.
I heard good things about him too. Like you said, Daryl Tapp.
Yeah, Daryl Tapp as well. So they
George
have
Banco,
guys.
I heard about him too. Yeah.
They have dudes that know.
Sharif Floyd.
Yeah. It's just if
I
you're
like
bringing in a quarterback. My thing is, you have to get the quarterback solidified, and I don't think this coaching staff on the offensive side gives me any confidence.
Now, I will admit, with the whole Brian Johnson, Jalen Hurts thing, I will admit the QBs available to them at that draft position are better than Jalen Hurts coming out. So maybe it's not going to be much of a developmental type. You're going to definitely going to have to develop Drake Maye, but I mean, it could work out. Here's what I will say. As far as a grade, I will give the Commanders for what they had to go through.
C+.
I'm giving them a B.
A B?
I'm giving them a B.
A B?
Yes,
man,
a B.
you're being too nice.
You got to think about it like this, right? They pretty much had to tear it down top to bottom almost.
Okay, all right.
And they got it done within like a span of 3 weeks. That's pretty quick as far as coaching staffs go. Dan Quinn is a good coach, in my opinion. I don't think he's a guy that you'll win a championship with. He'll get you to the playoffs, as we've seen from his time in Atlanta.
Yeah, 2 playoff appearances.
He went to the playoffs.
Man.
And then he also...
We trying to compete.
You got to realize the franchise we're talking about here. With all due respect, making the playoffs for the Commanders is a big deal.
Man, we tired of just making to the playoffs. We want to compete every
Who is
year.
we? I'm not a fan. They want to make the playoffs.
I'm just speaking it from the fan point of view. Like, they are tired of just, we're going to make the playoffs 1 year, and then we're going to have a drought in like 3 years. Like, bro, they want to compete every year. That's the problem with this franchise, is that they'll have 1 year they make the playoffs with like 9 wins or 7 wins. Like, when they make the playoffs, they not even good for real. Like they one of them teams that are on the bubble. Like they get fortunate because their schedule is very favorable for them. Like they want to be contenders. When was the last time they were contenders?
I wasn't
The 90s?
I wasn't even a thought at that
91? That's the problem, bruh. And I'm not confident. Speaking on the offensive side, defensive side is okay. I like some of the hires. But the offensive side, quarterback coach, never really coached an NFL level. The passing game coordinator, he wasn't good as an OC for the Eagles. Cliff Kingsbury, when he called play for the Cardinals, got exposed in the second half of the year every single time. Like, there was literally a trend of him second half of the year getting exposed.
November, December, yeah.
Exactly. And then, yeah, man, like, I mean, Anthony Lynn is okay, but he's the running back coach. Like, I'm not really looking at the running back coach that much. And then the offensive line
they didn't
coach.
even use the running backs like that.
And then the
last
offensive line coach, Bobby Johnson. This is not ideal, bro. For see, and this is the thing. We're gonna talk about this later on in the year. I was thinking about talking about it, but I need to gather more information. But in terms of who would I want, Jayden Daniels or Drake Maye for this organization, and right now, like, this is just a preview of what I'll probably say maybe later in the months, later in the years, whatever. But in terms of Drake Maye, I wouldn't want him to be in this situation. He needs to be in a situation where they have dudes that are veteran, that been in the league for a minute, that have some, credentials of winning organizations that can help him develop. I don't think Drake Maye would thrive in something like this. I really don't. And I'm a Drake Maye guy. Like, that's my, honestly, after Caleb, that's my guy.
Not to me.
But Jayden Daniels, I feel like Jayden Daniels, now the argument is, well, he doesn't throw in the middle of the field. But I think with
That's because of scheme.
But I think with Jayden Daniels, though, because he's lightning fast and he's so great with utilizing his legs, which
he just needs to slide.
With the Cliff Kingsbury system.
I mean, Drake Maye runs too, though.
Yeah, but he doesn't have that.
Plus, he's like stockier.
Yeah, but he's like a Josh Allen, a Justin Herbert, which is cool. But in an offense like a Cliff Kingsbury, I think with Jayden Daniels and his electrifying just quickness and speed, because the offensive line is just so bad for the Commanders, I think he can overcome an offensive line more so than a Drake Maye, who can scramble. He can run a little bit, but he's like a 4.7, 4.8-ish type of guy. But Jayden Daniels, he look like a 4.3, 4.4 type of guy, and he can evade.
I don't think he's that fast.
What? I think he's pretty fast.
I
think he's like 4.4. I think he's like 4.4, bro. I think he's a 4.4 dude. I just
don't like how skinny he is and how many hits he takes.
But Lamar Jackson, I mean, he was really skinny coming out.
I mean, Lamar has injury history though.
He does. But
that's mostly because his line was garbage.
But you'll take Lamar Jackson, won't you?
Oh yeah.
So exactly, I'm not saying that.
Not in the playoffs though, but
well, I mean, he made the AFC Championship game, so I think Commanders fans will take that all day, every day. But regardless, I just think when it comes to a QB prospect, you have to look at it from the standpoint of, okay, what's the scheme? What are the pieces around him right now, and how can?
I mean, you're also. I like Jayden. I think Jayden Daniels is QB2 so far for me. But you also, I mean, he had Malik Neighbors, and he also had Brian Thomas Jr.
He did, but
he had no run game.
He ain't had no run game.
But who did Drake Maye have at receiver?
He had Devontae Walker, who he might go in the third round this year. Third, maybe.
I've seen Dane. Oh, it was either. I think it might have been Jeremiah.
He had Josh Downs the previous year. That's about it.
Who's the draft scout? Is Daniel Jeremiah? I think he had either him or Dane Brugler released their top 100, and I believe Malik Neighbors was third, right behind Marvin Harrison Jr. So that's a substantial drop from as far as talent at the receiver position.
Oh yeah, but I just think
here's what I think between the whole Drake Maye and JD5 argument. I think if you have time to develop a QB, you would obviously go Drake Maye.
Yeah.
But if you want a guy that's like because Jayden Daniels is older.
On the ground running. He's like 23. That's not terrible.
He played all five I think he played 4 or 5 years in college.
Something like that. He's
old. He's a little more experienced. He looks more polished in the pocket.
He does.
His mechanics are more fluid, in my opinion.
He's I'll say this though with Jayden Daniels is that when it comes to anticipatory throws, he's better at that than I would say Drake Maye. Because I'll be watching Drake Maye and like some of these guys will break down and it's like Drake May's arm is so great that he could be a tad late, and because his arm is so elite that he could still squeeze it in there, even though he's a tad late. While Jayden Daniels, he has a above average arm, but it's not to the level of that where he has to like really time his throws and stuff like that. And so that's the thing with like you mentioned with Jayden Daniels. Now I'll let you continue.
So if you're a team that needs to like you have like a win now roster, I would go for a more Jayden Daniels type QB. Like if I was the Falcons in this position, if the Falcons had a top pick, I would easily go Jayden Daniels because that offense is pretty much built to win. Like right now they have Drake London, they got Bijan, they got Kyle Pitts and things like that. But for the Commanders, I think they have time. I don't think they don't have to win now.
Are you sure? Because the way Dan Quinn said it, he said we are recalibrating, not rebuilding. So the way he's putting it out there is like we're not going to rebuild.
I know. I mean, come on. He's playing the fan base as far as trying to get them motivated.
You called him a con artist.
What he did to the Cowboys defense was abysmal. But come on now. Obviously, he has time. They gave him a multi-year deal, and it's his first year. No one's expecting him to win immediately. I don't care what he says. You got to look at the roster and look at the top teams in the NFC. It's not adding up.
Yeah.
They got some work to do. They got to build through the offseason and through the draft, so they have time. So I think they should go Drake Maye. And plus, you get that Sam Howell kind of, sort of, vet leadership. Maybe he could teach Drake Maye lately. I look at my first year starting, and maybe that could honestly help competition-wise. Maybe that lights a fire under Sam Howell. His young homie coming in and trying to take his job. Maybe you could probably flip Sam Howell into draft capital if he puts on a good preseason performance. And the team is the QB needy team is like, I mean, why not throw him a third or a fourth?
I'm just not confident they can develop a Drake Maye, dude. I'm just not, bro. I just don't think it's an ideal situation from a coaching standpoint to a personnel standpoint. I'm just not that confident in the Commanders developing him. I don't think they have the personnel or the coaching to really help him progress overall. And that's what it's going to come down to when you look at these QBs is does the teams have the people in place to help develop? Because Josh Allen, he didn't look too well. It took time.
But he needed Brian Dable to develop him.
He took time. And I'll say this, though, because I hear the comparisons. When it comes to Drake Maye, I hear, like, Josh Allen and Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was a better prospect than Drake Maye coming out. Because Drake Maye, Drake Maye, the thing with Drake Maye is that his fundamentals in the pocket aren't as consistent as Justin Herbert coming out. Justin Herbert was fantastic when it came to his fundamentals coming out. And then also the mistakes, the turnovers. Justin Herbert wasn't as turnover prone as Drake Maye coming out.
That's because Herbert was and still is gun shy.
And so my thing with Drake Maye is that he's turnover prone. He wants to make the home run play a lot of times, which is fine. You could always coach that out of him. But depending on where you go, it could really hurt his growth, and he might not be able to, I'm not going to say stop it, but have it to where it's not as much, it doesn't keep occurring over and over again as you want it to happen. And that's sort of my problem with just Drake Maye and being selected number 2. I think with Jayden Daniels, I think he fits the offense better because he could utilize his legs, and you can run. You can do like running plays for him, just like what they did with Kyler Murray with Cliff. I just am more comfortable with Jayden Daniels with the Commanders than if Drake Maye was with the Commanders, because I think Jayden Daniels is a little bit more dynamic in certain aspects, and they can utilize him in various ways. While Drake Maye, he's gonna have to drop back, being, I'm not going to say a traditional style quarterback, but he's going to have to be in the more traditional style of being, dropping back 3 to 4 times, 3 to 5 step drop. Like, he's going to have to do that. While with Jayden Daniels, you can do a quarterback run plays a certain time, RPOs, do that, all the other stuff. And that's just me. That's just the way I'm looking at it. I could be wrong. I could be always wrong. I like Drake Maye more. When I watch the film, I think he has a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
But the safer pick, in my mind, for the Commanders is Jayden Daniels.
I think they could take a risk on Drake Maye as far as developing him goes.
You think?
I mean, he'll be. I think he'll be better than Sam Howell out the gate. You kidding me?
Absolutely. Do you think the Commanders are equipped to develop a quarterback?
I don't know because we haven't seen it yet, and this coaching staff is brand new, so I can't really call it. But like I'm saying, just given the time frame, I think they can take that risk.
So let me ask you this. So because there's top 10 picks, right? Top 10 picks. So we have Chicago Commanders. Number 3 is the Patriots. Number 4 is the Cardinals. Number 5 is the Chargers. Number 5 is probably the Chargers. So. Number 6 is maybe the Titans. Let me check the order real quick.
Tankathon.
Let me check the order real quick. NFL draft order. Let me check the order real quick. Okay. I think I have it.
It's Panthers, Bears, Commanders, Patriots, Cardinals, Chargers. 6 is Giants. 7 is Titans.
8 is Falcons. 9 is Chicago and 10 is Jets. So, and then it's 11 Minnesota. So, like, out of all the teams on this list, the teams that I'm confident with can develop a quarterback of like Drake Maye's stature would be I would say the Falcons, the Vikings,
Saints. I mean, he would never get that far.
I'm not gonna say the Saints. No. I mean, maybe the Giants because Brian Dable. Maybe. Nah, I wouldn't. Nah, I'm not gonna go with the Giants.
They need to get them receivers up.
I mean, he did make Daniel Jones look good. I will say that.
1 year,
but
until the league caught on and realized he's not that good.
There's only like.
Actually, the Giants would. I think Jayden Daniels would be good on the Giants. All these other teams don't really need QBs.
I mean, if I'm being honest, all these other teams, if I'm gonna be completely honest with you, these are not good situations at all. Besides the Falcons, I'm just looking at the top 11 picks, the Vikings, and that's pretty much it. Every other situation is not ideal for a quarterback. So if we're going off of that, I mean, I guess the Commanders are probably the best situation for him to go to.
Yeah. Especially in the top 5.
Unless Chicago wants to trade with the Commanders and select the number 2. Besides that, I mean, there's not really.
They're not trading that pick.
Yeah, they're not. They'll be out of their mind. But yeah, man, this is probably. I hate to say, it's probably the best situation. I don't see another situation that's better.
If you're the Falcons, right?
Yeah.
And the Bears trade you Justin Fields, do you trade back from 8 or you pick like an edge guy? Like maybe a Dallas Turner, I think his name, the Alabama edge, or you pick a Liatu. Don't know, is it Liatu? Yeah, Liatu.
Is that the offensive lineman?
The UCLA edge.
Oh, the UCLA.
Or you go O-line.
The Falcons have a pretty decent offensive line.
Most mocks have them taking an edge at 8.
I would say,
which makes sense.
They need speed.
So they should go like a.
But I don't think they need to go wide receiver this early. They could probably go later on because the receiver is just loaded. I think I might be with you on trading down. They could go Dallas Turner. That probably would make a lot of sense. They need speed on the outside, and their cornerbacks, they could improve on their cornerbacks as well. So they could either go corner or go edge. Maybe get Kool-Aid, McKinstry, or go Dallas Turner.
He's not even the number one corner.
So they could. I think
Mitchell is the number one corner.
They might be able to get Kool-Aid.
A lot of people like Jayden, the white corner.
Yeah,
a lot of people like him.
Oh yeah, that's another one. So I mean,
I love draft season so much.
Yeah, me too. Anywho,
in closing, I'm higher on the Commanders coaching staff now that it's like completely built.
What we just saw from the draft order, maybe they probably are the best option for Drake Maye. I will say the Tennessee Titans did hire Brian Callahan, but they did bring in I think it was Jacksonville's passing game coordinator. So that's not ideal. So maybe that might be another okay-ish situation. But just looking at the other names on the list, you might be right. You might be right when it comes to Drake Maye.
I mean, you got, in my opinion, you got a ceiling coaching staff. Get the ceiling QB at this point.
It just seems like a lot of these quarterbacks are not going to be put in positions where it's going to be ideal. C.J. Stroud was very fortunate.
Yes.
Very fortunate. He had Bobby Slowick and he had D'Amico and stuff. So there's not going to be very many situations where you're going to have those type of situations. And so maybe you're right. Maybe this is probably the best for Drake Maye. We just have to see. All right, well, that'll do it on this episode of the Courtside View podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell, and follow the socials. And we will see you guys on the next episode of the Courtside View podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and peace.
Look, cold world, still a cold world. And a couple of y'all is cool, but we a little more thorough. Whole time, a little more girls. You know I spit that sick shit and it's still no cure. Hold up, loud packs.